Good afternoon, welcome back to my channel. Today it was my first full day in Beijing after 10 years not being back. I was very excited and I went to walk around in the old town, which is also called the Hutong area between the Lama Temple and the Forbidden City. I visited the Guozijian, Nanluguxiang, and also my old school, the Central Academy of Drama, and this location where I have spent the most amazing 4 years of my life. And I think this Hutong has carried so many memories. My mom is from the same school, so she also took this tour with me, and it's like a nostalgia tour. We visited places we used to go, as well as discovered new places we had never seen. For example, inside of the Guozijian street, there is a CC Park. And I was quite surprised. I was like, CC Park, what exactly is that? Is that a creative cloud kind of thing? No, actually the CC Park is a cultural and creative park. Inside there are several startup projects that are related with culture and creativity. And there is a theater studio, 2 craftsmen place, and 1 art box, I guess is a art studio. And as well as a craft beer company. I'm not sure if craft beer in any sense is art, but I guess you can say that at least is craft because it's craft beer. I'm not very big in beer, so I didn't try, but it looks very good. And this little complex is office spaces, and it seems to me that such projects were supported by the government. I have confirmed that with my mom. If you have a startup company with an idea in art and cultural industry, you can ask to be involved as cultural incubators, and you have a subsidy in rent, utility bills, and perhaps they will arrange some kind of discount in taxes. So in general, that the Beijing government is trying to facilitate and encourage startup companies in the field of art and culture, and it's a wonderful thing. I think they have made a very good decision to put them in the heart of the city so that the cultural industry can attract tourism, and at the same time they don't have to tear down those old buildings. Imagine if you have any other kind of industry like restaurant, hotels, it means that you have to make room for those new giant facilities, and you have to perhaps tear down some courtyard and someone's home and some old buildings and walls. And it's going to be very sad because those buildings had been there for hundreds of years, and to lose it to a hotel, it's kind of ridiculous. So it's a very smart move to host cultural companies that can improve the overall image of the city and can bring something extra. In the same afternoon, I think I have seen a handful of such cultural buildings in the same area, and I can imagine the amount of money the government is pouring in to facilitate art and culture, and I think there's not a better time than today to make your own art startup in China, in Beijing. And I think I can say that I am here at the right time, in the right place to start a project. And if you're interested, I'm going to discover some conditions and fun prints about how to start your own art and culture company startup in China. I'm not exactly sure how it works. Don't forget, this is just my first day in Beijing, in China, after 10 years. So I feel like a foreigner myself, and I started taking photos, funny photos of broken bikes and people, random stuff, and just intersections, cars, and some stores and food. And I was curious, and I saw like an old pair of trousers, and I said, do they recycle old clothes or do they sell second-hand clothes? Because this pair of trousers is obviously worn before. And she was like, shh, it's the shop owner's own clothes, he's just putting it out to dry. So I felt like a foreigner myself, and I feel like I have definitely a reverse culture shock. I'm standing in the middle of the street, I don't know where to go. A lot of people. But I have made it. I walked through the busy Nanluguxiang, where used to be a very hype underground artistic location with cafes like Xiaoxin Cafe was one of my favorite locations while I was studying in my school. But now everything has changed. This cafe is now a fast sweet store, fast as you don't really sit down, you take to go, because the amount of people that is pouring in, there's no place to stay. So the street was packed with tourists from all over China as well as from all over the world. And all the stores were tailor-made for tourism. And obviously those craftsman stores and art stores were not really authentically art stores. I mean, yes, they're still art, but obviously they're more like a souvenir stores. I mean, I do miss the good old place where I used to be, but I can't say don't develop, don't go on, you need to stay where you are. That would be selfish. Obviously, people need to grow, they need to choose new directions, and I have grown out of Beijing and I've been other places and I think has enriched my life. And this place has grown in its own way, I guess for better or worse. Several years ago, I heard there is a very unique art gallery called Jiali Art Gallery. It's a home gallery that is hosted in a private location in a courtyard in an old building, and I heard it's very unique, avant-garde. So I was very intrigued by this idea and I always wanted to visit, but I hadn't been back. I heard that it was shut down a few years ago and it's not there anymore, but I still wanted to visit because I'm there anyway. It's just 10 minutes walk. So I took a little detour and I visited the location where it used to be, and an old French gentleman opened the door and he told me politely in French that it's not an art gallery anymore. So I stated my business and I had a short talk with him in French. Obviously my French was not so good and I could only speak simple things. I learned that the owner of this gallery has shut down. She moved back to France and moved on with her life, and this project is completely abandoned and aborted. And there's nothing going on in this location anymore, and it's just right now a private place. So I guess perhaps he is a family member. I'm not sure what is. I don't want to disturb him anymore, so I left. I don't really know the reason behind the shutdown of Jiali Gallery. I assume that if she wanted, she could struggle. Perhaps she did for her personal reasons. I don't know her personally. One of the reasons behind the shutdown of Jiali Gallery could be, as an indirect or direct result, is the government subsidy to other kind of artistic projects like the craftsman beer, like theater studios, or like whatever other projects the government has been investing in. Obviously, if you have a fixed amount of money, like Beijing government, although it's a rich government, the money is not infinite. We have a finite problem, we have limited resources. If you invest in the craftsman beer, you can't invest in contemporary art. And if you invest in one end of the spectrum of the art industry, another side will suffer because there's an inequality in terms of money and development. For a consumer of art, I guess if I can go to see a movie or go to see a theater show, maybe I will not go to see an art exhibition because my time is limited and my resources are limited too. So I guess in a way that other artistic cultural projects were competing with contemporary art projects like Jiali Gallery, and as an indirect result, and those smaller artistic projects suffered and they moved outside of the city and they had to find their own way and develop elsewhere. And I think it's generally a problem with contemporary art or artistic projects. As a public administrator, perhaps if I have to make the choice, I'll make the same choice. The problem with contemporary art is that it's very conceptual, the result is not so tangible and you cannot quantify the results. And if I am to invest my money, I need to see growth. I need to see results, black or white, written, at least on my watch or in my lifetime. I guess it's one of the concerns of the local government. They want to see results. They want to have projects that can, scale, can bring economic results and can bring tourism or can enrich people's lives in an immediate, quantifiable way. And contemporary art has this weakness, and I'm not blaming the government not to spend money. I mean, it's great that they already spend something in art and culture, and I can't obviously put my fingers as I'm not a taxpayer in Beijing. But in general, I can assume this is what has been going on, and that's why contemporary art has suffered in the past 5-10 years after I have left China, and other side of the art industry has prospered and boomed, and perhaps that was the reason. So I'm going to check out 7 and 8 art complex. Tomorrow is one of the most important art area in China in the past, at least by the time I left China. So I'm going to see what is going on and if they are developing, if the market is good, if artists are working and happy. I'm going to check it out. So click like if you like this video and click subscribe and not to miss the next videos. Stay tuned and see you in the next video.